Hey guys, did you know that willpower is a stronger determining factor of your success than your IQ? Did you also know that willpower can be measured scientifically? And did you know that willpower can be trained like a muscle and increased? If not, then you might want to watch this video. So, today we're going to be talking about the science of willpower. We're going to talk in 6 different areas of what it is, why you want more, who has worked with this, and how you can get more, and how not to try to get more willpower, and how I do it. As an entrepreneur in the last 10 years, learning about something like willpower is extremely valuable to me, and I believe that no matter what your goals are in life, you can learn something useful by studying willpower. Okay, so what is willpower? Willpower is a human capacity of self-control, and it can actually be measured scientifically. They do this by letting, for example, kids determine if they want to have 1 piece of candy now or have 2 pieces of candy in 10 minutes. And then they can do a percentage calculation of how many chooses one of the 2 options, because the second option requires more self-control to wait for 10 minutes than the other one. And then in studies like this, they can follow these kids through the adult life, and they have actually realized that these kids in their adult life become more successful, those who had more self-control, than those who didn't. Okay? And these studies also show that willpower is a limited resource, just like a muscle, which is very interesting. So it means you have to be wise in how you spend your focus and your willpower. And also, like a muscle, it can be underdeveloped, or it can be overtrained, or it can be right in the middle. Just like a muscle, that can be the right amount of stimulus you can receive to have an optimal development of your willpower. Okay? So why would you want to have more willpower? Well, of course your work productivity will go up if you feel more mentally strong. But also, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, actually willpower is a stronger determining factor of your success in the future than your IQ or your EQ, emotional intelligence. Is also usually talked about as important factors to success, but willpower is also one of those underestimated factors of success. Not much talked about actually. So you can increase your work productivity, and also if you increase work capacity, you also will decrease your level of stress. If a certain task becomes easier to you and sort of lighter, you will have increased life quality because your perception of stress will be smaller. Really important, because it's all about having a good time while becoming successful. That way you will be more successful by feeling better while being successful. That's a win-win to me. And now let's talk about who has worked with the studies of willpower. In the book from 2013 called The Willpower Instinct, How Self-Control Works by Kelly McGonigal. In this book you can hear a lot about the research that has been done. Now let's get to the interesting part. How can you develop more willpower? And there are several ways, but the idea is that you implement small exercises, habitual small actions that you do every day that you normally wouldn't do, because that requires a little bit of willpower. And another idea about this is you don't want to be overdoing it, because then you will abandon the process. Maybe in a week or maybe just a few days you'll realize it's too much for you to handle or consistently carry out. So those are the 2 things you want to keep in mind. But let's go through each one of them, and then I'll also go through actually something that I personally in my life as an entrepreneur and doing startup companies for the last 10 years, something that I find really useful, that I've implemented as well. We'll also talk about that, but first let's talk about what small exercises you can implement. The first one, probably one of the easier ones and most useful ones, is to go to sleep early. Make a time where you want to be ready to sleep, like it could be like 8 or 9 p.m. That way, first of all, when you wake up, you will be charged like never before. If you usually only get 5 hours of sleep, if you suddenly get 7 or 8, you will feel like you have twice the amount of willpower or battery in the battery capacity, so to speak. Next one, try to eat less sweets, or eat less in general if you have a tendency to eat a lot. Next one, do all the difficult tasks in the morning, like the most difficult tasks of your to-do list. Put them first thing in the day. That way you will also get a lot more stuff done that you will normally postpone, and you will become stronger, more determined in handling difficult stuff. Really important and productive method of increasing your willpower. And another really good one, it's good for your health as well, is to go to the gym often if you don't already do it. Like just twice a week. Then you can later up it to 3 times a week or 4. Just be realistic. Another one is to control your temper. If you tend to get angry or something, just think for 10 seconds before you say something, or maybe just 2 seconds at least. Another one, very common one that's also useful for your everyday life, is to be better at organizing your home. Another solution is to do breath exercises, like in the morning. Sit down and just see if you can focus on your breath for just 1 or 2 minutes. It's harder than you think. And doing this will really sharpen your self-control in focusing your thoughts on only one thing, instead of having it being all over the place, like your attention span, or generally our attention span tends to be all over the place in this day and age with social media and all that stuff. So by focusing your attention, you actually become more efficient as well. And another one that's good for the morning, I do this with my coffee, is write a journal. Have a small ritual of writing a journal about your goals and your methods of reaching your goals, what you're thankful for, and just practicing your mind to be positive and keep yourself accountable for how you approach your goals every morning. Super helpful, but also a way to train your willpower if you try to do one of these things consistently every morning. And the last one, so now we get to the last 2 ones. They're actually they're a little bit funny because they are counterintuitive, and these are something that I have invented myself in my everyday life as an entrepreneur, and that is to stop work early. Because if you're an extremely driven person, you can be in that situation. You remember, willpower is like a muscle. You can be in that situation where you're actually overtraining or overstimulating your willpower. And to make sure you don't burn out in the long run, you need to stop early, so you actually have some time to decompress and unwind and do recreational stuff and hobbies and stuff, not just be in a constant grind from when you wake up till you go to sleep, because that's not sustainable. And actually the quality of your work output will be extremely decreased if you're just working like a zombie. So for me, stopping work early, or the second one I use, to work a little bit slowly. So let's say the difference between working at 90% of your speed or 100%, like all out, working as fast as you can 100%, the difference in result is not that big. It's a small difference. But the difference in fatigue and how tired you get from working on 100% compared to 90% is extremely big. And actually, like, the overall output in the big picture will probably be significantly better and higher quality if you don't grind yourself out at 100% work pace than if you just slow down a little bit to like 80 or 90% work pace, and that will make you win in the long game. It's a little bit like a marathon. Being an entrepreneur or working on projects in general is, if you sprint as fast as you can all the time, like if you sprint in a marathon, you're not gonna last for over 10 kilometers. Or if you're out of shape, you're not even gonna last for 1 kilometer. So pacing yourself and lowering your work pace is also actually a way of increasing your willpower if you are an extremely driven person. That brings us to another way of starting or determining which is the right approach to you to increase your willpower. Well, first of all, you should determine if you tend to be a hyperactive, very driven person, or somebody who tend to be lazy, or maybe you need to kick yourself in the ass a bit, or if you're right in between, just like a steady Eddie guy, just jogging along, getting things done, not too slow, not too fast. That's actually kind of what you want to aim for, maybe a bit towards the hyperactive, but you want to be in a balanced place in between those. So when you have determined this, then you can see if you should choose to slow down a bit or to get started doing more. That's pretty much a good place to start. Okay, and that brings us also to the next big question: how not to increase your willpower. Well, if you're extremely driven and active person, then you should be careful not to burn yourself out. So don't think that you're a robot and you can just keep pushing your willpower and it'll grow. No, you have to be reasonable, just like when you train your muscles. Because the whole point is to increase your work capacity, and then you will feel okay and not overwhelmed by hard work. And also, you don't want to choose the wrong willpower, a practice solution. Like if you tend to be a lazy person, you don't want to choose working slow, or you don't want to practice stopping to work early. You probably want to start working a bit longer than usual, or doing a little bit more activities than usual if you tend to be lazy, right? Now let's talk about examples of how I increase willpower or exercise my willpower. So we already talked about I stop work early, I work a little bit slower than I actually want to. Other things I do is I've been going to the gym for the last 18 years. Even if the gym is closed, I train at home, no excuses. I manage my diet. If I want to gain weight, I gain weight. If I want to lose weight, I lose weight. I just manage my diet. It's that simple. I sleep early. I go to bed often at 8 p.m. Maybe chill out, watch some YouTube until I fall asleep. And then I do tough tasks first in the morning. And I choose my battles in terms of business tasks. I try to do the most impactful tasks first, and then less important stuff later, which requires willpower, but it also builds up your willpower to face your challenges head on, day by day, day in, day out. And then I write a coffee journal every morning. I call it a coffee journal because I write it with my coffee. And then I do breathing exercises, just a few minutes every morning, focusing on my breath, increasing my attention span. And as I already mentioned, I stop working pretty early in the day. I stop doing difficult management job or at the computer job. I stopped doing that already after lunch. After lunch I only do easy stuff like drive to town, meet somebody or pick up something or go to the gym. So afternoon, easy, simple, practical tasks. Before lunch, all the hard stuff, okay? That's how I do. So I hope you found something useful in this video, and I hope you can increase your own willpower by doing some of these things, and at least you just got the attention on willpower, and there's two different ways of adjusting how to improve your willpower. You can do more or do less, and that depends on how driven you are. Okay, so subscribe if you like the video. Otherwise, see you on the next one. Thank you.